What did Jungkook really want to say that night? Why does one simple sentence actually make millions of soldiers feel their chests are cramped? It all starts from a moment that at first seems ordinary, but slowly turns into something much deeper and more emotional than anyone could imagine. With a voice that sounded quieter than usual, Jungkook finally spoke from the heart. There was no joking tone, no characteristic smile that he often showed. His words flowed honestly, as if he was lowering the wall that he had been building meetings in public. Many soldiers immediately felt a strange vibration, like there was a hidden message behind every sentence he uttered. Is this just a momentary outpouring of feelings, or is it a confession that he has been holding back for a long time? But what makes this moment really goosebumps is not just Jungkook. All eyes were on Taehyung. Instead of giving the usual response, his reaction came in a way that the army had never imagined. He fell silent. His face changed, his eyes spoke more than words. No interruptions, no smiles to break the ice. Only the silence felt so heavy. That's where the army began to wonder. Why did Taehyung react like that? Was he surprised? Overwhelmed? Or precisely understand something that fans are not yet fully aware of? Many felt Taehyung's reaction seemed to be an emotional hint, an unspoken code that what Jungkook said was not trivial. What is clear? This moment leaves marks that are difficult to remove. Jungkook had spoken from the heart, and Taehyung answered him with unexpected emotion. Not with words, but with the silence that feels the loudest. And the army? They can only be silent, goosebumps, while realizing that sometimes the most touching thing is not what is said, but what is felt. As time passed, the army's curiosity only grew. Why did that moment feel so different from their previous interactions? Many began to notice one small detail that went unnoticed in the beginning: the way Taehyung sighed softly before finally looking down, as if holding something too heavy to reveal. That short gesture alone was enough to make many hearts collapse. Some army refer to the moment as too real honesty. Jungkook, who usually looks strong and feisty, that night looked fragile in a touching way. He did not ask for sympathy, but the honesty of his emotions seemed to open up space for feelings that had been hidden. And on the other hand, Taehyung seems to be a mirror of that feeling, not trying to distract, not calming down with cliches, just being fully present and feeling. The silence between them was even more emotional than a long conversation. Army began to ask, was there a conversation that had already taken place long before this moment, behind the scenes, away from the camera? Was what Jungkook said a continuation of something they had long understood together, but only now implied to the surface? More and more people noticed that after that moment, the atmosphere never really returned to the same. There is a thin distance that is felt, not as a sign of separation, but rather as an emotional maturity that is rarely shown. Taehyung looks at Jungkook more deeply, as if to make sure that no matter what he feels, he is not alone in facing it. The army was torn between worry and pride. Worried because they see the fragile side of their idols, but proud because Jungkook dared to be honest, and Taehyung chose to respond with such quiet empathy. No official explanation, no clarification broke the speculation. Only fragments of moments continue to live in the memory of fans. And maybe that's what makes it so compelling. Not because of the drama, not because of the sensation, but because of the honesty. Jungkook doesn't just talk, and Taehyung doesn't just react. They showed that behind the stage lights and the cheering, there was a real human feeling, and that night, ARMY bore witness to an emotion that will not be easily forgotten. But precisely because there was no explanation, the ARMY's emotions were increasingly layered. Many feel that the moment is like a puzzle piece that is deliberately left incomplete. Jungkook did not proceed with clarification, nor did Taehyung try to close it with a laugh. It was as if both agreed to let those feelings hang in the air, and for some reason it felt so much more honest. Some soldiers began to recall Jungkook's old sayings that used to sound ordinary, but now felt to have a new meaning. Sentences about time, about change, about the fear of loss he once vaguely alluded to. All the pieces now seemed to be connected. Was that night the point where those feelings finally found their way out? Taehyung's response was understood in a different way. Not as a surprise, but as a form of understanding that is too deep to say. There are emotions that don't need an answer, and maybe that's what he chose. Not to diminish the meaning with words, not to distract with jokes. The silence felt like an invisible hug. ARMY, who rewatched the moment many times, began to feel the same thing, warm feelings mixed with stinging. Warm to see such a sincere bond. Poignant to realize that honesty is often born of a sense of fatigue that is never seen. The evening was not about sensations, but rather about the courage to show the most human side. And until now, one question still hangs without a definite answer. Is this just one emotional moment that happened to be captured, or a sign that Jungkook and Taehyung are in a very personal phase of their journey? No one knows for sure. What is clear is that the moment has been embedded in ARMY's heart, as a reminder that behind the stage lights, there are real feelings that sometimes can only be felt, not explained.